Arlecchino is finally here, and I'm here to help you out on your team building for Arlecchino. I've prepared a list of many teams to choose from with many character substitutes for each team. It's not that straightforward as she does have a lot of mechanics that affects her team building. So before we begin, I'll explain how Arlecchino teams work a bit more and the characters used in them so you can understand how Arlecchino works a bit more. So let's start with that first. So Arlecchino cannot be healed by other characters and only by her ult. So healers are, well, not really that useful, but this means you need characters that provide more defensive things such as shields or damage reduction. So characters like Zhongli with his shield and resistance shred, Diona with her shield and cryo application, Lil again, shield and cryo application, Dia with damage reduction, Beidou with the shield from her ult, Xingqiu again with some damage reduction, Kirara with her shield, Yanfei with Constellation 4 with her Pyro shield, and Thoma with also his Pyro shield. You can use them when you need some sort of defensive utilities in your team. And make sure whenever you are using them, then just make sure their elements don't interfere with your reaction. Not that they are a must, it's just that they help Arlecchino stay alive a bit more, and this makes the team a bit more comfortable because of course you're gonna get more damage if you have more offensive characters in your team, but when you're actually playing your team and seeing how squishy Arlecchino can be, having these defensive characters sometimes is really useful. As for the buffers, she scales of attack and does normal attacks. Now lately we have been getting characters that didn't depend on Bennett that much, but now Bennett with Arlecchino is a very good duo and it really makes her a lot stronger, and you will see a lot of teams using Bennett. So that might be an issue if you already have a team using him. It's not that he's a must, it's just that if you have any extra spot left, it's usually the best choice, for the team. Other than Bennett, you have your whole roster of Anemo characters that can provide you with Virgin Venom. So Kazuha, Sucrose, Venti, Lynette, Jean, and Sayu. Kazuha and Sucrose being very good because of Kazuha's damage buff and Sucrose's EM. Lynette also provides attack buff, so that's pretty good. And also grouping is a very important factor in teams. I will be showing many teams that don't have any grouping. Just know that those teams will not feel as good in certain situations without a crowd control. So whenever you are making a team and you don't have the best characters for that team, you have to pick substitutes. So pick them depending on what type of utility you want, so either a buff or defensive utilities depending on your playstyle. Now let's start with the teams themselves, starting with Vaporize. You will need a Hydro character. That Hydro character can be Xingqiu or Yelan. Now there's also Furina and Kokomi. Kokomi is not an amazing option. Yes, you can give her Thrilling Tales to give Arlecchino attack percent, and as for Furina, because of her skill, your Arlecchino will be very squishy at all times if you don't have any shields. And it's also hard to gain fanfare stacks because Arlecchino cannot be healed by other characters. So there is some anti-synergy going on with Furina and Arlecchino, but again, you can just still use them. Maybe have Bennett as another one of your characters, and so your whole team's getting healed, so you are generating some fanfare stacks, so you're getting some buffs for Arlecchino. But still, I would recommend using Yelan or Xingqiu to make it easy, but if you really want to, you can use Furina or Kokomi. But you can just, use a whole different team type altogether if you don't have Yelan or Xingqiu available. Now, you can go with the second Hydro character, so you can go Yelan and Xingqiu, or add in Mona. Not that I personally like Mona with Arlecchino. I think there are better options if you are looking for a buffer. And then finally, your last character can be either for defense or buffing. So for the fourth character, you can run Bennett for heals, which will also act as a buffer. And you already have some damage reduction if you are using Xingqiu. But if you don't have Bennett free, then you can go Kazuha, which will provide you with grouping and may even shred both Hydro and Pyro. Or you can go Zhongli for the tanky shield or the resistance shred. Or Sucrose is also a good option. These are the options I would use. But if you don't have anything, you can go with other sub DPSs for extra damage. Maybe Fischl or Miko, maybe Navia, Xiangling. You can even turn the team into a plunge team with Xianyun. You will get good damage out of them, but they just don't feel amazing in certain situations. For example, the first phase of this abyss, you really want a grouper. So without one, the team may feel really sloppy. but the same team in the second half feels amazing. And if you aren't using a buffer, then your Arlecchino will deal less damage, so you're going to be relying on your other characters for more damage. If you have a really good sub DPS, maybe your Navia is really good, then she may be able to keep up with Arlecchino and it may not be that bad. But for example, for me, my Navia isn't that good, so I really take the hit when I'm using Navia instead of someone like Bennett or Kazuha. But let's say if you're not using Xingqiu and Yelan, and let's say if you want to use Kokomi, then the damage would go even lower because now Kokomi isn't going to be doing a lot of damage compared to someone like Xingqiu or Yelan. So the team may feel worse. With Furina though, your fourth character will change, so you may want to use Bennett more, or Jean, or even Xianyun more, because they are providing you with heals, which is really important for Furina because of course you need to get your fanfare stacks up, so the choices will change. Now, if you are not going to be using two Hydro characters, you can leave the next two slots for making sure you have a buff and maybe some defensive utilities. You can go Yelan, Bennett, Kazuha, which is honestly my favorite team right now, or Yelan, Bennett, Zhongli if you need a shield and makes it a bit more comfortable. Xingqiu is also good. It's not just Yelan. You can go Xingqiu or Yelan if you are not going with any defensive characters, because again, with Xingqiu you get the damage reduction. You can even also go with Child in your team because you get that normal attack talent buff, but you gotta make sure that you swirl the Hydro for Arlecchino. Moving on, for the next two characters, you can go double Geo with Zhongli, Yunjin, or have Chiori there, or even Albedo or Navia. So that would be one team type with double Geo and a Hydro character. But if you don't want to use double Geo, you can have Bennett as your fixed third slot, and then your fourth character can just be any flex. Maybe offensive, maybe defensive. As I said before, the team with Anemo supports, so Kazuha as your fourth character, that'll be really nice. Or just have Zhongli over there. Again, the same two teams I told you in the beginning. You can just switch out the fourth character depending on what characters you have available. The best ones I've already told you, but if you don't have them, you can use other things. Or one other team you can try with the Vape is Arlecchino, then a Hydro character, and then an Electro character, so Fischl or Miko, to make an Overvape comp. And then again, your last character can be flex. So you can just put Bennett over there, or maybe have Zhongli there. You have a lot of choices, okay? You just pick one from the flex characters you can see above. Just remember that characters provide different things, so that team may feel amazing in one situation but may not feel that good in another one. So if, like for example, you did not go with a crowd control character in the last slot, then you will face a lot more issues. That I really like to use that only uses 4 stars is Arlecchino, Xingqiu, Fischl, Sucrose. So you have a lot of options. I've listed the best ones, but if you don't have them available, you can just mix around and get something working out for you. But with Arlecchino, you have a lot of options. So if you don't have the perfect characters for Vape, then you can just go to Melt or Overload, which is really good. So keep watching if you don't have the perfect team ready. Okay, now that we're done with Vape, let's go to Mono Pyro teams, which are just a combination of Anemo and Geo characters. So one variation is Arlecchino, Bennett, Xiangling, and then your last slot can be Zhongli. Or instead of Zhongli, you can use Kazuha for a more offensive team. You can also run other Anemo characters, so you can provide Verus and Vener. So you're basically trying to buff your whole team, right? So with Verus and Vener, you get that elemental shred. Other Anemo characters can be used here as well. Next, you can also run a double Geo comp with Arlecchino, and then maybe you can have Bennett as the second Pyro character. And then the 2 Geo characters can be Zhongli with maybe Navia, or you can have Chiori over there, or you could have Albedo, or you can go another route with making this team with Arlecchino, Bennett, Yunjin, and Kazuha. So they are all just buffing Arlecchino to the very best. There's no elemental reactions, it's just them buffing Arlecchino, which is just, a hyper carry Arlecchino. Or what you could do is just run a makeshift team, so you can just place a character with whatever you have available. So for example, a team like Arlecchino, Navia, Bennett, and Kazuha. No defensive utilities, but it's a decent team because Bennett and Kazuha, they're going to be buffing Arlecchino, and Navia is just, to provide any damage you can because you don't have anything else to use, I suppose. So you can play around with the Geo Anemo Pyro characters to make something up. Again, you shouldn't be forced to play a certain team. You have quite a few options and they're all very close to each other this time. Usually with characters, one reaction is usually the best for that character, but in this case, it's not that big of an issue. Next up are her Melt teams. With Melt, you need to make sure you have good and enough cryo application for Arlecchino. So usually you just want to go with 2 cryo characters, so you get the cryo resonance, and then leaving your 4th character be a flex. So you can have Zhongli there, which is a good option, or you could have Kazuha or any other animo character for the VV shred. You have quite a few options for the flex again, but if you want to not run 2 cryo characters but then have Kazuha be swirling the cryo and then use it like that, Layla is a very good option because again you're gonna get the shields, and you also have Diona, you know, again defensive utilities, good option. But again, you will need another cryo applicator with them to help with the cryo application. You can go Ganyu, Ayaka, and then slot in Shenhao with them to get more damage out of them. Or you can just go a very simple team with Kaya and Rosaria, and you get quite a lot of cryo application for Arlecchino. Your last character will be flex. Either you can go Animo, or you can go Hydro, or Bennett, or Zhongli. Another thing you can do is try to run a kind of freeze comp, so meaning you won't have like excellent cryo application, you just need a little bit of cryo application, so you can have 1 cryo character and another hydro character. This team won't be that effective against bosses, so be careful about that, but you will get good damage out of it. Now let's talk about Overload teams. Overload for a long time for me has been overshadowed by other reactions, but with Arlecchino, you can use her very well in Overload teams. One character that's obvious is Chevreuse with Arlecchino. She's the Overload support with a resistance shred. But if you don't have her or don't have her build, you can still just play without her too. As for the last 2 characters, you can use Fischl and Beidou, or you can just use Yamiko, or just have Fischl. Other electro characters too, like Lisa or Raiden, like I may slot it in as well if you want to use them. But I recommend having some kind of defensive utilities like Beidou, or maybe someone like Toma or Yanfei C4, so you could switch out 1 electro character for either one of them. Or you could even have someone like Zhongli over there as your 4th character. But if you want to just get more damage, you can always just add in a Bennett or some kind of flex character, like maybe an Animo character or even Zhangling. And if you're not using Chevreuse, again, you can just fit in other characters to replace Chevreuse. Also do something like Arlecchino, Fischl, Beidou, and then a Hydro character, so you can go Yalan, so that is your flex character. So you have a lot of options with Overload, and you're going to be doing a lot more damage. Next up, you have her Burgeon teams. Now for Burgeon, you will be using Arlecchino here just to be the one doing the Burgeons. So you can have her be on an EM build, and of course she will do some extra damage with her pyro attacks. And then your last slot can be for either swirling the Hydro, or you could have someone to support your team. So Zhongli being a very good option, because with Burgeon you will feel a lot of HP getting drained from you just because of the amount of damage it does to your own character. And if you don't have a shield or some kind of support that can negate all of that damage, it's going to be really difficult to stay alive for Arlecchino, especially for Arlecchino, because again, she cannot heal herself and she's always very low on HP. So if you are in the abyss, you get 1 hit, you'll be always playing on 1 HP. So it's not an amazing option. It's your choice. If you want to play Arlecchino with Burgeon, you can do that as well. Again, Burgeon, Hyper Bloom, they're the easiest teams to build. Just have enough Hydro application and have shields. That's one thing you need to make sure of when you are playing Arlecchino Burgeon. And that's it for this video. I hope this helped. A lot of teams covered, a lot of characters shown. If you have any questions, do let me know. Just comment down and I will respond to you. And that's all, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.